Hey, thank you guys for coming and giving me the opportunity to discuss or talk with you about something that I'm truly passionate about, which is the subject of bullying. A lot of times when we ask ourselves, what is bullying? What does it look like? We go back to those old TV shows, or maybe that individual who is twice the size of another individual, stuffing him into a locker, or taking their lunch money, or maybe that old infamous meet me after school at 3 o'clock for that physical interaction, or and don't be late. When and actually it's a lot more than just that, which we'll get into a little later. And secondly, we have to ask ourselves, well, what is bullying? What qualifies as bullying? How do I know? Well, in order for it to qualify as bullying, it has to meet three criteria. Right? One being it has to be repeated. If it is a one-time situation, if it is a one-time interaction, negative interaction, then that's just all it is. It's just a one-time thing, a one-time negative interaction where maybe someone's just being mean in that moment. Does not mean it's a bully. If a person comes in every day and that same type of negative interaction happens, then therefore it is repeated, therefore that it meets that criteria. Two, power imbalance. It has to create a sense of power imbalance. If because of those repeated negative interactions, if an individual chooses that they no longer can be around peers, or they no longer want to go to school, or they no longer want to go in certain areas of the buildings because they know that this individual is going to interact with them in that way, then they're creating that power imbalance. They're taking their power to roam areas freely without having to run into those negative individuals. And lastly, number three, it has to have intent. If the person's intent is just to make a joke, if the person's intent is just to make someone laugh, then it does not meet the criteria of bullying. Okay? So it has to have those three things. It has to be repeated. It has to have a sense of power imbalance. Right? And it has to have intent, negative intent, in order for it to qualify as bullying. And so we have to ask ourselves then, well, what types of bullying are there? Okay? We all know that physical type, right? Where individuals might get into a physical altercation every day, where someone might be pushed every day, or punched, or hit, or poked, or scratched. That physical aspect. And again, it's repeated. Every day they come in and they're being pinched, poked, scratched. Every day they come in and they're being pushed into a locker. So that physical aspect will qualify as bullying. Okay? Psychological bullying. Right? Psychological bullying. What we mean by psychological bullying is when someone has an effect on someone's mental. Okay? Someone's mental. And what we mean by this is if they're calling them names every day. Right? There's no physical interaction, but yet they're calling them names. Or maybe in the meetings or classrooms where every time they answer a question, certain individuals laugh at them. Right? Or they tease them. Okay, or they walk by in the hallway and they whisper in their other peers' ears. That's that mental part. That's that psychological bullying that individual may be causing someone. Okay. And lastly, cyber, which a lot of our younger kids these days are more familiar with, cyberbullying. All right. And examples of cyberbullying is maybe posting a picture on Facebook of someone else that's maybe unflattering, or maybe sending out a group text message in the middle of a meeting or a lunchroom of someone. Saying negative things about someone, that's cyberbullying. Or maybe, and so all these different things, all this technology-based cyberbullying type things are examples of how someone could bully someone over the internet. And so a lot of people say, well, I don't know how to respond. Like, what do I do if I come across this type of situation? Well, first, never interact with the bully directly, unless you are an authority figure, or maybe a teacher, a boss. Let them handle that part. You do not want to interact with that person who might be presenting as a bully in that moment, because you don't want that attention coming to yourself as well. You don't want to be a victim of a bully. All right. So go get another adult if you're a child. Speak to an authority figure if it's in a workspace, but don't ever try to interact with that bully yourself. Or maybe you just grab the individual who's being bullied. Maybe you pull them aside and say, hey, why don't you come have a cup of coffee, or why don't we go play some ball, all right, together, and pull them out of that situation. Those are some top ways to respond. And there are many other ways to respond to these situations, but those are probably the best ways for you to be able to to respond or help in that situation. All right. What you don't want to do is stay silent. Being quiet and being silent does nothing for anyone. Does not help the person who's being bullied. Does not help the bully because maybe they just have poor social skills. All right. Maybe they have issues of their own that need to be worked out. And by us staying quiet and silent, it doesn't create an opportunity for anybody to get help. So if you ever come across a situation where you see a friend or you see someone that you don't even know, don't be quiet, don't be silent, and help. Thank you.